Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Women's Golf Weekly podcast. I'm Jesse Morrison alongside Max Bechtold, and the first major of the LPGA season is in the books. Nelly Korda was incredible at the Chevron Championship. New location for the Chevron Championship this year, and it seemed to really fit Nelly Korda well, and nobody really had an answer for her. Nobody put any pressure on her on Sunday. She just could par, par, par. That's basically what it felt like. She made it a couple birdies and had a couple mistakes in there, but it was really just on cruise control. And she wins her third major of all time. And I think you can already start putting her in conversations for all-time great.
Yeah, I mean, that Hall of Fame conversation's getting real interesting. And a post went up this week on the site about how quickly she could reach that Hall of Fame number. Spoiler alert, I think it could be this year. But that's a discussion for another time once we see how this season plays out. I mean, obviously, dueling 65s in her first two rounds, it was really incredible to watch. It was so fun. Just seeing her absolutely dominate. I mean, regardless on who you're a fan of on the LPGA Tour, I think seeing the greatness of Nelly Korda this week was really, really impressive. I think this is kind of a signature win for her. I think throughout her career, she's kind of been known for, obviously, she's got a lot of wins. She's got 17 LPGA Tour wins, 3 majors, an Olympic gold medal. She's been great in the Solheim Cup. She has a tendency, though, to make it hard on herself. And she's always talked about that, how she always makes it harder than it has to be. She gets a couple bogeys on the back nine, and it gets a little bit closer. This was very, very different. I kind of said after Friday's round, and I posted this, that she really kind of needed to go 2 under on the last 2 days, get to 18 under. It would probably solidify her win. Guess what she did? She went 2 under on the last 2 days, got to 18 under. It solidified her win comfortably, 5-stroke win. And when you really look at her last day, I was so impressed by her work. And I was so impressed by the work of caddy Jason McDeed, getting her to play safe, get a lot of pars, get out of there with the win. She didn't need to win by 10 strokes. Winning by 5 strokes was enough. Nobody put pressure on her. She delivered a safe, comfortable victory, and it was so impressive to see.
By the way, hats off to NBC for picking up a lot of what the caddies are saying, and like the conversation between Nelly and her caddy was really interesting, and I really enjoyed that as a fan. And I think the key to her win this week, and we've talked about this multiple times on this podcast, is that I think that she was really good on the green. She putted really well in this tournament, and it wasn't something, that's been something that's kind of held her back over the past year and a couple months. And this was not that. She was really good with the putter over the weekend, and I think that is the key to why she won.
Yeah, she had a couple of hiccups on Saturday, especially, she got off to a really quick start on Saturday, got out to that huge, huge lead. I mean, she was obviously already out to a huge lead, but she kind of was extending it on Saturday, really looked unstoppable, had some hiccups on the green. Other than that, though, she looked great all week. Thursday and Friday, I think her putting was about as good as I've ever seen it. Sunday, it was safe. It was exactly what she needed. I mean, her putting stroke, I've thought all year. Now, the stats haven't really backed it up, but I think you saw it this week. I've thought all year her putting strokes looked way improved over last year. I think it's the best it's ever looked. Even though she's sometimes still missing those short putts, and we saw that kind of come up again this week. But even she talked about how that can be like an inspiration to people, where it's like you can still miss these short putts and be a great player. She talked about that. And I loved it. I loved hearing her really acknowledge those, because there's an article about her and Jessica. I'm terrible at timelines, but I think it was about 4 years ago in Golf Digest, where she really addressed those short putts kind of in a self-deprecating manner. And you can tell she was kind of self-conscious about them, but kind of joking about them at the same time. it seems like she's really kind of taken some ownership over them and just acknowledged that's a part of her game. She can still be great through that. And I think that's a really, really important step for her to be taking. That, yeah, those short putts will be missed sometimes. She'll probably miss 1 to 2 of them a week. I mean, that's part of what comes with being a fast player because I think a lot of it has to do with her maybe not taking her time as much and just wanting to get the hole over with. But
Which,
those
by the way, she was cruising on Sunday. Like it
absolutely
was like she would make the putt. She was already on the next green. She was or already on the next tee, ready to go.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, she's the fastest player on tour.
yeah.
There's no doubt about that. It's a well-known thing with her. And I do think sometimes that leads to some sloppiness, but that's just how impressive she is that she can deal with that sloppiness and still put together a week like she did this week.
Yeah, and she moves back to number one with the win, so that's good for her. Not great for Gino Tittacoon, but
Yeah, but as Nelly said this week, because she was asked this week at the Mexico tournament about being world number one again, and she said yes, it's a great accomplishment and something she's dreamed of, but also it doesn't give you anything. It doesn't give you any edge. It doesn't give you any advantage. Like you still have to go out and play. She compared it to tennis, which obviously she knows a lot about with her
mhm.
brother being
And
a
her dad,
professional tennis player and her dad.
major champion.
Yes, and tennis there's an advantage to being ranked number one because you get different draws, you get different
Yeah,
matchups. Golf, there is none. So you still have to go out and play the same way. So I think she's got a really good perspective on this. And I think this is, I've said it for a few weeks now. And I think this tournament really, really separates it. This is the best golf Nelly Korda's ever played, and that includes her
wow.
2024 season. I think she's just in such a rhythm, such a mode that I just think there's great things ahead for her this year.
Yeah, I enjoyed. I want to talk a little bit about the post tournament. I really
Hmm.
enjoyed the moments that she experienced with her family and her nephew,
Yep.
and the jump into the pool was fun.
It was good. Yes,
Yeah,
it was good. That was a big talking point of the week. And I thought for a temporary solution, for a little bit of a band-aid on the issue for this year, I thought it worked. I thought it was pretty good. She gave a great other cannonball. I think her original jump into the lake 2 years ago is one of the more iconic ones recently because she really embraced it and she embraced it once again this year. And I think it's great. I think not every player would have executed it so well, but I think she's so into this tradition that it
yeah.
works so
I
well.
liked that she included her family in it. That
Yeah.
was fun.
Grayson, Jessica's son, Grayson, maybe didn't love it so much. He was a little bit upset, it seemed like afterward, as you would be, a 3-year-old being just jump into a pool. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
you would be upset with people yelling and screaming around you. But
Mm,
other than that, I do think it was great.
yeah, now I feel like when he's older, he's going to be happy that they made that decision for him.
Yes,
That because
absolutely.
that's a moment that he'll forget, but
Yes,
he'll be able to watch it back and be like, okay, that's super
absolutely.
cool. I got to do that. And yeah, I just thought the moments after the tournament were really nice. You didn't love the sizes of the crowds and the tee times on Sunday.
Yeah.
I didn't think the crowd was terrible. Like I thought
I
the
think
group following Nelly was good, and
as the week went on,
yeah,
it got better. But Thursday and Friday, there were some holes with some grandstands that were completely empty. There was not a single person in those grandstands. And this isn't a issue with the LPGA as much as it is with this event because I've been to 3 LPGA tournaments this year. The crowds are good out there. They're better than they ever have been, particularly with Nelly. They are huge crowds with her. The ones in Arizona were just massive, and this week in particular, I thought sometimes they looked a little bit small, and this was a big issue last year as well. I know last year Stacey Lewis and Lexi Thompson both in interviews kind of talked about how small the crowds were. And I just think this is an issue with Houston. I don't know if it can really support this tournament year over year because it doesn't seem like the local fan base is there, like it was in Palm Springs for this tournament before it moved.
yeah.
And yeah, I just don't know if it can host a major championship every single year, especially because from what I've heard from people who have been to who were at the Houston Open this year, which was held at this same course, there was no marketing for the LPGA Tour there at all. Which seems like a major miss when it's hosting a major championship about 3 weeks apart to not really market that LPGA event more. It just feels like a miss to me.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it a couple more years maybe because I do kind of think that this move to this particular course could do good
This,
things.
by the way,
It's a good course. Yeah.
this course, phenomenal, much better than the club at Carlton Woods where it was held before.
Yeah.
This is a much better course. It's a much more interesting course. It looks better on TV.
Yeah.
I like this course a lot more.
And it's closer to downtown
Downtown,
Houston.
right?
So
Yeah, and those views of the skyline were great.
yeah,
I love
so
that kind of thing in golf courses.
yeah, so I think I'd give it a couple more years. Obviously, you mentioned that it wasn't really talked about at the PGA event. I think that they've got to do that. They've got to, you got to put billboards up around
Yeah,
town and sell advertising to, radio stations, things like that. Like that, those things have to happen to get fans out to events in your town. There's got to be like there
it's
for
like
events that go on, there's usually like committees that do things to
and
promote them, and if that's, I'm sure that goes on somewhat with this event, but it needs to be better,
and
obviously.
Houston is what, the fourth biggest city in the country, I believe. I
Yeah,
believe it's behind New York, LA, and Chicago.
yeah,
It's the next biggest city. There should be crowds out there. They should be able to attract a crowd. It's a huge city. Now you also mentioned the TV issues.
yes,
Um, and I get it. I totally understand why people say, well, the ratings don't justify having the entire final round broadcast. My main argument to that is it's all a chicken or the egg situation here. It's,
yeah,
do the ratings come when the coverage is strong, or does the strong coverage come when the ratings are good? And I don't know the answer to that, but I do think that the more great coverage you show of the LPGA and the more you show it over 5 and 6 hours instead of 4 hours, I think the more that you'll see people tuning in to watch. Like I said, I go out to these LPGA events, and there are a lot of people in the crowd who have never watched an LPGA event, and they sit there and watch these players play one hole and say, "Oh my God, I didn't know they were this great." I mean, I wish I could like record some of the people and what they say, because it's like people are just blown away by how great these players are. And if you give people the opportunity to watch, they'll understand how great they are. So I do think it's time to get better hours. I mean, an hour and a half of Nelly's first round or fourth round wasn't broadcast. You have the biggest star on the tour with a dominant lead, and you don't showcase her final round. I think it's just inexcusable.
yeah. What I kind of took issue with more than that, honestly, because golf tournament coverage, even on the men's side, is dumb the way they do it.
Yes,
Uh,
but it's also an impossible sport to cover too at some points.
yes, but you could show the final group's entire round
Yeah,
on broadcast television. They don't. I feel like they don't even do that for some men's events, and
yeah.
it's really stupid.
But for the men's majors, you get 15 hours of coverage.
Yes.
I don't think it's too much to ask for 6 hours of coverage for the women's
What
major.
I didn't like is that at the end of the round, they were like, "Okay, you got to go to Peacock for
This
the trophy celebration
well,
and
because
everything."
this was the biggest storyline of the whole week, was this, as I've affectionately called it, a kiddie pool. That this was the big story of the week, was this pool that they're going to jump into, and then you don't even broadcast it on TV. You could tell that NBC, whoever was controlling the switches, was just waiting to switch over to something else as soon as it ended.
Yeah.
Like you saw like a minute or two of her celebrating with her family, and then it was off.
Yep. And I didn't love that.
Yeah.
So, and and if the ratings are not great, like it was a busy sports Sunday. Like
Yeah.
you had NBA, NHL playoffs.
You had a great PGA Tour finish with the
Yeah,
Fitzpatricks winning on the
yeah,
PGA
and
Tour.
then
Like, I get it.
you had Talladega, which is like one of the biggest NASCAR races of the year. So it was a busy sports weekend, but still, I mean, like you're gonna cut it for Sunday night baseball or the NBA playoffs pregame. Like
Yeah.
we can shorten that a
There's
little
like
bit.
30 minutes of paid programming in between too. It's
Yeah,
like, come on.
you can show the
Yeah.
you can show the celebration. It is kind of stupid. Also, golf celebrations are too long.
Yes, I agree.
Because you got to go sign the scorecard, and then you come back out and you jump, and then there's an interview right after, and then there's an interview after the scorecard. Like there's too much. It's like the Masters. It's like there's like an hour of post game or post
There, it's so
tournament
long,
coverage.
even independent of that. I mean, now I'll tell a little story. When I was at the Tournament of Champions this year, remember the final round got canceled,
Yeah,
and Nelly got declared the winner. From when people were done to when Nelly got out to the trophy presentation, keep in mind she didn't play a single hole that day. Was about 45 minutes until she got out there. Everybody was like standing around waiting for her to get there. It's
yeah,
like, how did it take that long? And it's like, let's just wrap some of this stuff up a little bit faster.
yeah. And when we covered the Carlisle tournament last year for the Epson tour, which we'll be out at
Yep.
this
I
weekend.
was out there this
You were
morning.
out there
Yep.
this morning. I'll be out there on Saturday. It's like they that for the Sophia Popov win, the celebration, and everything that took forever.
Yeah.
Took like an hour, I felt like, and so that's got to speed up a little bit. I think two last things I wanted to get
Hmm.
to before we move on to why the hell Nelly Korda is playing in the Riviera Maya Open. Uh, Gino Titakun was terrible.
Yeah, it was a rough week for Gino. And this is actually the longest stretch that she's ever gone without a top 10 finish on the LPGA Tour. Believe it or not, 5 tournaments is the longest stretch she's gone. I'm not worried about her right now, but there's reason to start thinking about it. If she has a couple more tournaments without a top 10, I mean, it could be viewed as a down year for Gino, which, obviously she already has a win this season. She's still top five, I think, in CME. Like, she's still a great
But she
player.
needs to win a major. We're at that point.
Well, I definitely think she needs to win a
And
major, and I do
with
agree
the
with that.
first one this year missing the cut, like that's not you can't do
It
that.
was it was a rough look, especially because Justin Ray, one of the best Twitter followers. If you're a golf fan and you're not following Justin Ray on Twitter, I don't know what you're doing because he has the best statistics in all of golf. He posted, Gino, this is men's and women's, has the second most weeks at world number one without a major championship in golf history,
Wow.
behind only Luke Donald. That's the only player she's trailing. That's crazy. And I've pushed back a little bit on the whole Gino, needs a major right now. But reading that stat, Gino needs a major this year. I just straight up will say it. If not, I think we're getting into Sergio territory where it becomes the when does she finally win one?
Hey, Sergio did get a
Sergio
major,
eventually got one, but it took a long time.
and he was slightly likable for like 2 seconds, and
Correct.
then he started not being likable again.
Why? Because he went to that league that probably soon
Oh,
will no longer exist.
should we talk about that a little bit?
No, because Live has always been stupid. It is stupid. If you're a Live fan listening to this,
No one's a
you just
Liv fan.
I
I don't think there's a
I
single
agree.
Liv fan.
But if you decide to not listen to this podcast anymore because we trash talk Live, go ahead. Yeah, this downfall has been a long time coming.
Yeah, and but the thing is, the reason I brought it up is that you know the Saudi investment fund has more money to put into other golf tournaments now or golf leagues, which
Oh,
they'll
absolutely.
probably
No, and they're gone.
pay
They're
more money to LPGA
yeah,
players now, which is
absolutely.
good or bad, whatever you want to
It
say.
depends
Probably
on your
bad.
perspective. I think there's positives and negatives to it.
Yeah,
Obviously, where that money's coming from, not
not
great.
great.
But that money coming at all is a
Yeah,
positive. So
yeah.
there that's a whole deeper can of worms.
And also Luke Donald's still looking for that first major.
Yes.
So hopefully Gino does not get into Luke Donald territory. All right, the other player, you were right about. So we made these, we drafted these teams before the major of players that we could, see winning it or doing well. And I had Gino Titakun, which did not work out at all for me. And Max had Patty Tavatanakit, and
Who came in second?
she came in second. The race for second was kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean,
And the race for low amateur was kind of fun.
absolutely.
I have a tweak, by the way. Low amateur, they need a playoff. So it's only one.
I think that's kind of
They had them share the low amateur. They should go to a playoff for the low amateur.
But yeah, I mean, Patty T, player that I also put in my betting guide as a player to target, odds to target. That's coming off a week where I picked Hannah Green as the top odds target, and she won. So a couple good weeks for me on the betting
Max
guide
knows
there.
ball.
Yeah, and Patty T had a great week in LA, showing a lot of momentum. I think she's a player that just has so much talent, and so is Ronan Yin, who also tied for second. These are players that have just boatloads of talent that haven't necessarily, especially over the last couple of years, shown it. And I think at any minute, once they get some momentum, they're going to play really well. Patty T's putting was incredible. I mean, we talk about Patty T usually as a great ball striker. She's one of the longest hitters on tour. But her putting this week was unbelievable. Her short game was better than anybody else in the field. And so I think this is a really good sign moving forward for her. I think she's in for a really good season.
All right, you were out at an event adjacent to a Legends event, the Marilyn Smith Sunday Tea. What went on there that you want to share?
Yeah, it was a really great event. I mean, Marilyn Smith, one of the legendary 13 founders of the LPGA Tour, and one that maybe doesn't get as many headlines as some of the others, but she's a two-time major winner. Won, I believe, 11 events, I want to say, on the LPGA Tour. Obviously, an all-time great, and a really charitable one as well. One that I think a lot of LPGA players who came up in the 80s, 90s, 2000s really look up to, who may not be known by maybe the general population as much as like a Kathy Whitworth. But she's a person who really, really has invested in the women's game, gives scholarships to players in college. There was a couple college players there who shared their stories, and it was really fascinating. Also, LPGA Hall of Famer Beth Daniel was there.
That's cool.
She spoke, which was great. My mom was there as well, and Beth Daniel was her favorite player growing up on the LPGA Tour, so that was awesome. Meg Mallon, who I believe is a four-time major champion, somehow not in the Hall of Fame because of the crazy LPGA Hall of Fame rules. But she was there and she spoke. So it was a really great event, really great opportunity to kind of come together in the women's golf community. It was during the final round of the Chevron. I was watching it on my iPad while also at the event.
I'm sure you weren't the only one.
Well, but that's the thing is like there was murmurs throughout the crowd like, oh, has Nelly finished it off? Like it was great to be like around people that cared about this kind of thing. Like so yeah, it was a great opportunity. Got to meet some newsletter subscribers. Got some new newsletter subscribers. So thank you to everybody who's kind of coming in and a new viewer of our stuff. So it was a really, really great opportunity.
All right. There is a tournament this week. It has already started. So the first
record this on Thursday afternoon, right after the first round.
So and for some reason, Nelly Korda is playing in it. Last year, this tournament's field, it's the Riviera Maya Open. It's in Mexico. Last year, this tournament's field was one of the worst.
By the way, this year, still one of the worst.
Still one of the worst. Not as bad as last year.
Well, it's not as bad,
especially because but you've got Carlota Saganda, you've got Melanie Green up there. You got some good players in this,
and Melanie Green's playing great so far.
Yep, she's leading. She's 6 under. Nelly Korda
had a hole-in-one. I don't know if you saw her hole-in-one today, but it was a blind shot, and there's no fans around the green. So she didn't know that she hit the hole-in-one until she got to the hole and looked in it, and the ball was in there, which was really fun. Melanie Green's a really, really fun player out there. She's one of these players that I think will be a superstar because she's so friendly with media, fans, volunteers, everybody. She gets it.
Max's favorite ball striker on the tour, Lynn Grant.
Yeah.
She's playing in this tournament, so
But
it's not that bad. It's not that bad.
The
It's
whole
not
point
like
is
last year.
Nelly is the only player in the top 17 in the world
Yes,
playing in this event.
which is confusing after winning a
Because I
major.
thought for sure, because I saw that she was entered in it, I was like, okay, there's no way after winning the major she's going to play in this. And then in the interview, she was like, oh, yeah, I'm still going. And then they posted a video on Sunday night of her arriving, and like they had like sparklers and like they were welcoming her. Like it was like you can tell this tournament is like, oh my God, how did we get so lucky that Nelly wants to play in this?
So when I was growing up, close to me, we had the Greenbrier Classic PGA event, and for a while there, it wasn't uh, attended by a lot of the best players.
I believe it was the week before or after a major.
Yes.
It was right around a major.
And one year, Tiger and Phil decided to play.
Yeah.
And everybody lost their mind.
Yeah.
And that kind of feels like probably that area
happening here. Yes.
Yeah, and what ended up happening though is that Tiger and Phil were just trying things out, and they both missed the cut.
Yeah,
and
that but likely won't happen with Nelly.
That is not happening with Nelly right now. She is 4 under, so 2 strokes back. Max, I'm gonna say let's give our predictions on 3, 2, 1. Nelly Korda.
Yeah. Here's the thing. This is all due respect to the rest of the field. There's other good players playing this. Carlos Saganda, as you mentioned, Lynn Grant, the EY twins, Gabby Lopez, who's been in quietly really, really good form as of late, and she's playing well so far today. You will not see a player this elite play against a field this week ever in golf on the PGA Tour or LPGA Tour.
Yeah.
You will not see this again. This is the strongest individual player versus a weak field that you will ever see. There's no reason to pick anybody else but Nelly.
Yeah, and again, this is not crapping on the rest of the field.
No, it's not like individually. It's just as a whole, it's a little bit weaker.
This feels like when Mike Trout has a back injury and is coming back and is sent to, low A to play a couple games to
or like
feet back under
when you see like DeGrom a few years ago was like pitching a rehab start.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, okay, like sure. That's a little bit what it feels like. And again, the EY twins, Saganda, Melanie Green, Gabby Lopez. There's a lot of still really good players, and
this still could be wrong, and one of them could win. And
absolutely, and that's the thing about golf. Anyone can win at any time, and so this might not be a Nelly win, but it's just a really, really safe pick.
All right, Max, before we wrap things up here, what should people check out on womensgolfdailynews.com?
Yeah, so obviously we're going to have some coverage of the Riviera Maya Open. I'm actually going to be out of town for the next couple weeks, but there'll still be plenty of stuff up. There'll still be recaps. There'll still be previews, all the stuff you can expect. This week, I am on site at the Carlisle.
I'll be there a little bit.
Arizona, yep. And that will really start to kick off our Epson Tour coverage a little bit more because we'll have pictures of all the players. We'll be able to talk to them a little bit. So this will be a real kickoff to our Epson Tour season. And yeah, another thing that I just want to throw out. Yesterday, I got approved to cover the U.S. Women's Open. The first time I've gotten credentials for a major championship. I've been to a couple U.S. Women's Opens, but I've only really been able to take photos during practice rounds and such. So this year at Riviera, which I'm so excited for, this will be a great venue in L.A. I can't wait. So I will be out there covering the U.S. Women's Open.
Exciting.
It'll be a ton of fun. So
exciting. All right. Well, that will do it for us for this week. Make sure to stay tuned to our Carlisle Women's Golf Classic coverage because we'll be out there and it's always great when we're on site. So, and hopefully I'm crossing my fingers. I don't get sick this time like with the Ford Championship and I can actually go. All right. We will talk to you next week.